Our guest this week asks this question: what is wrong with modern marketing? He tells us the complaints are an irritatingly familiar litany: clutter, return on investment, invisibility, the mystery of social media and digital platforms, no place on the board. Brand consultant and speaker Andy Rice, a very warm welcome. You're going to tell me that it's all about a lack of courage.
Absolutely. I mean, the marketing discipline is one that attracts these moaners, frankly, and it's usually about not being on the board or not being given due respect. But I do think you have to earn that respect, and I think marketing is at fault in that regard, because the things that need to be done, unfortunately, are the things that need courage. And most importantly of all of those, the fundamental number one requirement is to nurture creativity. Creativity is, in many ways, the answer to all of these problems, but it's difficult. And if we don't have the courage to give creativity its primacy in the marketing world, I'm afraid that we're going to hear those moans for a long time to come.
Why is it difficult, and how do brands find that courage then?
It's difficult because the alternative is easier. And the alternative is usually numeric and quantitative. We have this thing called big data that's coming along, which is proving that certain things are the right things to do. And it's allowing us to say, well, let me pack away my instinct and my gut feel and my sympathy for emotions, because now I can just ask those research fellows to
In fact, you make the point we are anaesthetized by information.
Well, that's what I do believe. I think we are, and it's part of the way, incorrectly, marketers have tried to justify their position on the board by saying, I can prove it works. The best way to prove it works is to get away from this slow erosion of creativity. I call it death by 1,000 cuts in one of my conference presentations, because there are no one single culprits out there we can point a finger at. What there are lots and lots of little things, from market research to big data to a failure to understand how creativity works, and an assumption that it's the enemy of effectiveness. All of these things collectively are undermining the role that creativity can and must play.
But Andy Rice, a brand can't wake up one day and suddenly find that courage. Where's the starting point for a brand?
The starting point perhaps is to ask yourself something about your own lives, because we don't need to know in marketing about all of the functional things. You don't need to even know in social media about Instagram and Pinterest. You don't have to be on those platforms, because what you need to know about is the way that humans behave. Why do we cry at movies? Why do we get completely over the top at football matches? Why do we think that beer tastes better when you drink it with friends? All of these things are impossible to prove, but are fundamental to the way that we feel. And that's a difficult thing to get into. You've got to put your own emotions on the table.
You have a quote here from the UK Creative Council that says the only truly irresponsible risk is to take no risk at all. So what you're advocating here is, as difficult as it may be to sell around the boardroom table, start taking a little risk.
Yes, and interestingly, that UK Creative Council quotation comes from 1966. This is not a new phenomenon. This is about the balance between responsibility and risk. We have become risk averse, and to be completely risk-free is in fact a recipe for total disaster. We need to understand that marketing and brand advantage comes from a degree of responsible risk-taking. As Bill Bernbach said, if your advertising doesn't get seen, everything else is academic. So the main thing that lifts your advertising out of invisibility into visibility is a strong creative proposition.
So what challenge then do you need to put to your agency and to your own brand team in that respect?
Well, I think they need to understand what creativity is, because one of the problems is that it's an elusive, slippery concept.
Well, what is it?
Well, in my view, it comes from the juxtaposition of two seemingly independent narratives into one sudden moment of magic. The way that I find I can explain creativity best is to use the parallel of humour. Because humour normally is two stories trundling along in a predictable direction, and the punchline is what joins them in a moment of magic. And that's with creativity too. If you don't have that moment of unexpected juxtaposition, you end up with a very good brochure. Tells you a lot.
Fair enough, but based on a solid understanding of the brand, its principles and the needs of its customers.
You need that foundation. I couldn't agree more. But the foundation alone will never give you the edge in your category.
Is there anybody that's getting this right?
Absolutely. All the brands that understand that features and attributes are not as important as the emotions of the user. Take the brand that everybody celebrates, Apple. I mean, you just don't see in Apple advertising stuff about megahertz and gigabytes and all the stuff that gets techies excited. It's about what it does for you. It's about the transformation of an individual with and without that brand.
Final question, when do you rein it in? At some point, surely creativity can eclipse what you're trying to do. It becomes too creative for creativity's
What you
sake.
probably need is a portfolio of communications. So you need to have that Apple moment of talking about people's transformation in this emotional, creative way. But somewhere along the line, you still need the brochures. You still need the online functionality. So you need a portfolio. But if you haven't got the flagship creative communications, you won't have a flagship brand.
Andy Rice, you're off to the south of France shortly to judge the Cannes Lions Creative Effectiveness Awards.
That's right.
A lot of what we've been talking about is going to be reflected in that work. We look forward to your feedback when you get back from the south of France. You lucky devil.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.